Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Kirk McFee Show. Can I tell you a story? Um, I'm Kirk McFee, and I'm super excited as this is the very first episode of my brand new podcast. If you're listening today, it's my 54th birthday, March 5th, 2025, and I'm glad you're here with me. And you're here at the very start. I've received several positive comments since I let you guys know that I'm going to try this podcast thing, and I'm glad you're excited too. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know everyone has busy lives, so seriously, I appreciate you checking this out. One thing I want to say before I really get going is people will warn me that my first episode is going to be horrible. And that's normal. So I'm just going to butcher my way through this and hopefully you're entertained and hang in there. Um, I'm terrible with technology, so I've been up the last couple nights late writing and trying to figure this out. With the help of my friends in Michigan, Les and TJ. They both helped me. Um, I barely figured out how to film this and upload it so you could see it. I'm glad I got this far. It's going to get better and better, so please keep tuning in and enjoy the learning curve with me. It'll be fun to look back in a few weeks, maybe even next week. Look back, it'll be better. Um, but that leads me to my first piece of advice. Um, if you figure out what you want to do, just go for it. If you wait until you're an expert, um, you'll never get started. If I didn't set a debut for this, it'd be April and I'd have nothing written or recorded. I had to set a deadline for myself, so I picked my birthday because I know I'll be in touch with a lot of you. I appreciate all the birthday messages and texts, Facebook posts. I'll get to you guys, but thanks a lot. I'm glad you're here as a part of my birthday. I'm glad this is podcast is a part of my birthday. Um, you may ask why I'm creating a podcast. Oh, first, I want to let you know that the Kirk McFee Show is sponsored by WaveX. It's my friend Joe DeLiz's company. He's my first sponsor. We'll do a little presentation later. These are some scented water bottles. The water isn't scented. The sensation is scented. So you think you're drinking coffee or something else, but you're just drinking water. So I'll do a little semi presentation in a little bit, and that'll get that advertisement will get a little slicker too, Joe. I promise. Um, so why am I starting a podcast? That's a great question. I don't know. I've always wanted to do one for some reason. I don't know much about podcasts. I never really listened to them till recently, just doing research. But for the past several years, I've thought about it, and a few people randomly said I should do it or suggested I do it, and so here we are. Um, my goal is to first have fun. I always feel better when I have some kind of project or creative outlet going, and this one just presented itself as my next thing to do. What's it about? First of all, it's my story about going for your dreams and never giving up. And that's what I want to encourage any of you to do. Um, I'm going to get off my page a little bit, but when I first, I'll let you know that I'm a musician. And when I first decided or was thinking about pursuing a music career, I asked some people that I knew, my aunt. I said, "Did you have anything you wish you did when you were younger that you wish you did as an adult?" And she said, "I wanted to be an opera singer, but I thought everyone would laugh at me." And then guy that I grew up across the street from, um, I asked him, and he said, "Man," he's like, "I wanted to be a fireman. Every time I see a fire truck, I still wish I was the guy on that truck." And but I never went for it. So everyone has things they thought of, I would imagine, and I just want to encourage you to try. We'll get into that. Um, so my goal is to have fun, and so heard a lot of success stories and all the things they've gone through um, to finally get rich and famous. But what happens if you don't get rich and famous? And even though you tried your best, I'm going to have some guests like that on my show. Um, and, we'll get into that as well. I mean, are you a failure if you didn't make it? I mean, how do you measure success? There's a lot of answers to that. So sometimes life happens and you have to change course or you have to pause, move in a different direction. Sometimes you realize what you might have wanted might not be the best thing for you. And in the process, you might find something that's even better. And that's happened to me. That's all happened to me throughout this journey. The main point that you most likely heard is you don't know until you try. In sharing some of my stories, I hope to be an inspiration to show you that you really can do a lot of different things if you just honestly put your mind to it. I know part of me always wanted to get my stories out. I like telling stories. I used to own a restaurant and I would sit there and just tell stories behind the bar. Had a lot of fun. I've done a lot of different things, been to a lot of places, and know a ton of people. So I can usually find something to interject into from my past experiences or people I know to get a conversation started with people I meet. It's fun for me, and sometimes I can't believe all the things I've done and all the people I actually know. I've had a lot of great memories and made connections with a lot of you, and I hope, well, I'm glad that you're here, and I hope to talk to you again soon, at least catch up. Some of you have only met once, but I feel like we're really good friends, as good as we can be, but I hope you feel the same way. If I haven't physically met you yet, we still have some time. I've thought about different ways to introduce myself and how to get started. Many of you already know me. I'm very blessed to have you guys in my life and throughout my life. Um, and there's a ton of people I call my friends. I grew up close with my aunts and uncles and cousins as well. So hopefully some of you are watching this too. So how many people do I actually know? Well, I tried to start a spreadsheet several times, listing names and how I met people and where they might be living now. I've never gotten through it, but a fair estimate is I know about 4,000 people. Um, friends, acquaintances. That's no exaggeration. I can't believe it myself, but it could be more. So how do I know so many people? I'm not even quite sure how I had that much time to get around to everybody, but it happened. And I'll start from the very beginning. As I mentioned, I grew up hanging out with my cousins a lot, met their cousins and aunts and uncles, celebrated birthdays and holidays and first communion parties. So they were the first. Then I started school. I was born on March 5th, 1971, in Mount Carmel Hospital in Detroit, Michigan. It's no longer there, and I grew up in Taylor, Michigan. My mom was a teacher before I was born, and she was convinced at an early age that I was extremely smart or gifted. Um, so she took me to a child psychologist to get tested. As I recall, my IQ was pretty high, and she thought about sending me to a school for gifted children called Roper School. It's in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. I almost went there, but I think the 27-mile drive each way stopped that plan. So instead, she had a meeting with the local Catholic school in my area. Um, a side note, my mom was in the convent, entered the convent at age 18 after high school, and was a nun for 6 years, or studying to be a nun until she left and married my dad, who she went to high school with, and eventually had me. So she's very dedicated to the Catholic faith still. But with her fresh IQ results for me and a letter from a psychologist stating that he believed I was ready to stay for a full day of school, my mom set up the meeting with the principal of St. Cyril's in Taylor. And in Taylor, Michigan, and she begrudgingly agreed to let me skip kindergarten. The principal didn't. She told my mom, I think, we don't like children like this. Um, so she let me start first grade when I was 5 years old. First grade was my first school experience, and I'm still friends with a lot of those students. Um, when it's their birthday on Facebook, a lot of times I say, "Are you bringing cupcakes for the whole class?" So I love that. I hope to bring cupcakes for some of you guys someday, surprise you like we used to do. That was 1976. My family went to a different church in my hometown of Taylor, St. Pascal's, and they didn't have a school, but it was a great community. We had great fall festivals, and they had a dad's club that ran the t-ball program. I started that when I was 5, so I made a lot of friends there too. I also grew up on an awesome street, 2-lane street in Taylor, between Hayes and Champaign, and I was blessed. I wish my children had the same thing, but up and down the street, we had great people and a lot of fun, and played football and baseball and rode our bikes, and just great friends I still have today. In the fall of 1982, hey, you guys having fun so far? Am I boring you? I'll have to change my inflections and things like that, but I'll listen to this and I'll probably be cringing too. So just hang in there if you don't mind. In the fall of 1982, my mom was on the board to reopen St. Pascal's School. Um, it had been closed for many years, and they did it. So my mom switched me and my brother Daryl, um, and I was in 7th grade and he was in 5th grade, entering 7th and 5th grade. So left St. Cyril's and went to St. Pascal. So we made more friends at that school too. In the middle of those years, I played Little League baseball and got to know a lot of people my age in Taylor from all the leagues. I played for Taylor North Central. Um, those are great, great memories. I also bowled on Saturday mornings at Score Lanes, the local bowling alley, and did that probably from age 9 to 14. I love bowling. I wanted to be a pro bowler one day. Then I had no choice but to branch out. I had a battle with my mom about where I wanted to go to high school. I wanted to stay in Taylor and play high school baseball with my friends. She told me I had to go to Catholic school. So we had a little battle. I took the placement test that you have to take um, to get into a Catholic high school, and I did really well on it. But in my defiance, where it had a line to put your first or second choice of where you wanted to go, I think I left it blank. I either did that or I put a school that I knew my mom wouldn't send me to. That was a little stinker, they say. Um, so back in the mid 80s, all the Catholic schools would get filled up, believe it or not. There was a waiting list, and first they would take the grade school kids that were in their grade school and let them into the high school, or their parishioners. Then, if there was room, they'd go to the people who put them as first choice on the placement test, and then if there was room, the second choice. Unfortunately for my poor mom, when she started calling all over Metro Detroit, everyone was full until she saw an ad for Riverview Gabriel Richard, and she called and they said, "Yeah, we'll take him." So I had screwed up the process so much that when I finally got accepted into Richard, um, they had started school already. I missed freshman orientation. They had been practicing football for a month. Nobody knew who I was, and I think I missed the first 2 weeks of school. I never even heard of that school before, and I never been on Pennsylvania Road before my mom dropped me off the first day. It was about 7 miles and a 15-minute drive from my house, which is a long way, a lot longer than anywhere my bicycle had ever taken me. So it was like the other end of the world. It was a different world with kids from a different world. They had already started school when I got there, so I didn't even have a place to sit in the cafeteria. They had, 6, 7 kids at a round table, and everybody had their groups. And at that age and my age, I couldn't walk up and say, "Hey, I'm Kirk. Can I sit here?" It wasn't like that. So I ate lunch by myself in the gym locker room for a long, long time. I don't think many people know that. Um, so then, since I was late, my locker was in the same hall as upperclassmen. I guess there was a freshman hall, but they were all full. So I had this steroid jerk next to me. He was a senior, and he'd watch me do my combination lock, and I'd open up the locker, and he'd slam it shut. So I'd do it again, and he'd do it again. So he'd keep doing that until it was time for him to go to class. But then I had to hurry up and reopen it, get my books, and then run, to wherever my class was. So I was late for classes a lot because of that jerk. Um, if any of you GR people want to know who it is, I'll tell you, and maybe you know him. But keep in mind, I was only just 13, and this guy was 18, so that's a big difference. Nobody from St. Pascal's, my 7th and 8th grade school, went to my high school, so I was really alone. The only people I knew were my friends from St. Cyril's, but I hadn't seen them in a couple of years, and they were already involved with their cliques. So it took a while. It was difficult for me to break back in. The awkwardness of high school, my young age, and my situation made it tough. To put it in perspective, my daughter Grace is 13, and she's only in 7th grade. So she's 16 months older than I would have been when I was in 7th grade. So, and then there was not to account for the children that were held back a year. So some kids in my grade were 2 years older than me. There's some kids in the grade behind me that are older than me. So I had to play sports against them. Um, but I did it. Not only was I on my own, but being from Taylor, Michigan comes with a stigma. Many of you probably said the nickname in your mind just now, maybe out loud. I had to hear that, throughout Michigan and all the way from California to Florida. I still hear it. Still bothers me for a second when I hear it, but I've learned to let it go. I'll tell you the whole miserable story of my high school experience someday later on. Good thing I have a podcast. I can tell you some more stuff. But, the good news is eventually I met hundreds of people that I would never met if I stayed in Taylor. Probably maybe not have met. But, thank God I played sports and was good enough at it to make some teams, because I don't know what I would have done if that really got me over the hump, meeting people. So the first 2 summers after high school, freshman and sophomore year, I didn't even hang out with Richard people. I went back to playing baseball and playing with my Taylor friends. I didn't care about Gabriel Richard at all. The area I grew up in is called Downriver, and which comes from the fact that it's south of Detroit, down the Detroit River, about 10, 12 miles south of Detroit. It's a cluster of small cities, including Taylor, including Riverview. And it's a really unique and I think pretty cool place to be from. We all kind of know each other. It's not just me that know a lot of people. It's we all know each other. But I think people from downriver secretly always wanted a friend from Taylor. I believe that. And you probably do have a friend from Taylor. So it's not all bad. It really set me up to be tough, I think, and not afraid of anything. Being from Taylor and growing up near Detroit in general, I think for all of us, we got a chip on our shoulder, but in a good way. When my brother went to high school, he chose a different neighboring high school, Allen Park Cabrini, which is part of Downriver also. So through him, I met a lot of Cabrini people, and vice versa. He met a lot of Gabriel Richard people. So that made our network even bigger. I continued playing baseball for Taylor American Legion until I was 18. Um, my baseball days were great times. I loved it. I'm planning a reunion. Well, I want to. We've been talking about it for years, but I really want to plan a reunion with those guys. Then a lot of us went on to softball um, in our early 20s, and I used to play softball 7 days a week. I retired when I was 40. I'm like, I'll play till I'm 40, but we had bar sponsors, and we'd play softball for an hour and go to the bar. It was fun. I worked at United Parcel Service, UPS, in Livonia, Michigan, from the day after I turned 18 to past 25. At 7.5 years, I worked my way up from a loader to supervisor, part-time supervisor. I was in management until I finally graduated from college in 1996. Hey, are you guys having a good time? I'll try to be more excited, entertaining. I'm so tired. Um, I stayed up the last 2 nights really late getting ready for this, but I hope you're learning a few things. So I graduated from college, Madonna University in Livonia, where I also worked. I worked and went to school in Livonia, so I got to meet a lot of people from that area and neighboring cities. That's north of Taylor, 10, 15 miles north. Um, so I got to branch out even more, and I'm still in touch with those people too. I think the key is I naturally like to keep in touch with people. I really honestly do like to see what makes people tick. I like to listen to where they came from, and it's very interesting. Um, and with that said, and the people I've met, I'm very grateful for where I came from. So I always have that in me. I moved around a lot. Right now I'm in Sarasota, Florida. We've been here for 3.5 years, but we'll get to all that too. Um, but yeah, I just enjoy it, and I still make efforts to keep in touch with people. We all say happy birthday, or a lot of us do on our birthdays, but I like to chime in once in a while and make a stupid, funny comment, or funny, I think it's funny, but just to say hi, you know, let people know I'm thinking about them. I don't even care if it's reciprocated or not. They can't get rid of me unless they really want to. You guys can't. um, I have to pause and just say how excited I am that you're here and that we're doing this, and I get to share these stories. Um, I started writing a book several times. One time I was living in California and I was flying back to Michigan, and I had my notebook on the plane, and I left it in the back pocket, the seat in front of me, and got off the plane and didn't realize it until it was too late. So I had so many specific moments and people that visited me and gigs I played. I'm a musician too. I haven't told you that yet, I don't think, but um, I couldn't believe it. It was devastating. So then I started writing again, but this time I was getting into the 2000s and had it all on a laptop. I took my laptop in to get looked at or fixed, and they erased everything. So I lost everything again. That seemed to happen to me many times. Or I just had to start over. But, anyways, I keep going. And so now with this outlet, I think it'll be cool and maybe even easier to get my stories out and heard and written down, and then maybe I can eventually finish my book. But maybe you won't want to read it if you become a avid listener to the Kirk McFee show. You'll know all the stories, so you won't have to bother with a book. Going through these struggles, um, I thought it'd just be a good way to tell you my story. Um, what was I going to say next? Yeah, I hope I can be interesting enough for you to continue to tune in. I have some really cool guests lined up, friends of mine that have done different things. Um, know different people, and I did a little survey on what your dream job is, and got a lot of cool answers. And I know people that do those dream jobs, and so try to connect the stories with what you think it might be. So it'll be fun. Um, and now I'd like to introduce my first sponsor. So this is WaveX from my friend Joe DeLiz's company. And what it is you just pop this open, and there's a scented disc. So you're not actually drinking flavored water. The water's, you add the water, but this one happens to be coffee. So as you drink it, you're smelling coffee. And we got green apple, we have cola. Mateo like that one. The kids are trying these out. We have mint last night, orange, and there's several different bottles. He sent me a couple so far. We have a discount code, and I'm going to have to present the um, website. But the discount code is Kirk Rocks, KIRKROCKS, and you'll get 15% off if you buy something. I really hope you try it out. They're pretty sweet. Um, Joe's probably cringing on my initial presentation here, but it'll get better. I'll get a slickly produced commercial and the website up, but it's WaveX, WAVEX. Check it out, and or ask me for the link, and I'll send it to you. I apologize, Joe, that I don't have it edited in right now, but we'll work on that too. So thanks, Joe. If you guys want to be mentioned or have your product on here, I'm always happy to work something out and promote my friends. WaveX. Joe's also from Taylor, my hometown. So, so far it's been all about me, but I'd be amiss if I didn't mention my parents, Jerry and Lorraine McFee. My dad passed away in June of 2023, uh, but my parents are legendary people in my mind. It's not just my opinion. They touched a lot of people, and they know more people than I do. That's where I really get it from. They had so many people to invite to their wedding that they had to have two receptions on the same day. So they had their morning mass church wedding celebration, and then they had the first reception in the afternoon, and there was about 300 people there. So they ate and celebrated, and then they had to kick everybody out for the night shift, which I verified with my mom, and she's not quite sure, but my dad always said it was another 700 people. She thinks it might be like more 500 or 600 more people. So you're looking at 800 or 900 people at a wedding, and my dad would always say they were eating in shifts. Um, it had to be quite a party. And my mom said my dad's friends used to say when Jerry gets married, they're going to need Cobo Hall. Cobo Hall is where they used to have the Detroit Auto Show and a lot of big concerts and stuff. Just in Detroit, Detroit Stadium. When my a Detroit Stadium. When my dad passed away, nobody ever saw a funeral like that. The funeral home and the day before, and then the church mass. My mom had to write over 400 thank yous. I think we served over 200 people after mass, and many people left. And the 400 or so cards she sent, that covered more than one person. So families came by, and um, you know there might have been close to 1,000 people that we saw or heard from. People that couldn't make it, sending their condolences. So my dad was a well-known and well-loved person, and so was my mom. And so I'm very lucky that I grew up with people like that as my parents. Um, so my dad always made sure that I knew he loved me and he did everything he could for me. And I tried to do the same for my son, Mateo. Um, Mateo's 9, and I hope he knows that. I think he does. My brother Daryl is 2 years younger than me, and he's a very well loved, popular young man too. Um, we grew up with our parents taking us all over the place, socializing, church festivals, following their favorite polka band. We met a lot of their friends. My dad took us to a lot of sporting events. He was in purchasing at General Motors, Cadillac. So we had awesome seats, sat in a lot of suites. We're very lucky. But got to know my parents' friends, and so that was another big extension of people we know. While I was in college and working at UPS, I was asked to coach a 9 and 10-year-old basketball team at my alma mater of St. Pascal's. I was 20 years old at the time, and that call was a gift. I wound up coaching there for 4 years, and I'm still in touch with some of those players. I heard from one of them today, wish me a happy birthday over text. Um, he still complains about playing time, but it was a great experience for the young man that I was, and I still, talk to their parents too, more than 30 years later. I also coached Little League Baseball a couple of years back then, and then I came back to coaching decades later when my own son was born, and I coached him in basketball, flag football, soccer, you know, I don't know lacrosse or hockey, but he's played those too. Um, I met even more people, players and parents through that. I highly recommend coaching if you ever get the chance. I got a surprise call one day in my early 20s to audition for a band called Tazz, Tazz. I don't know why I got this call. I think I was singing at a party and somebody heard me, a guy I was playing softball with, and he thought I should try out for his neighbor's band. And the next thing I know, went to this rehearsal with a bunch of long-haired dudes, and I had short hair, and um, all of a sudden I was in the band. I think there was even, well, I won't say that, but they were a great established band, and in no time after a few practices, they started setting up gigs. My first gig was with the band was at the Token Lounge in Westland, Michigan. It's still a rocking place. I know the owner and the guy that books it, and they still have national acts coming through there. But that was my first taste of music, and it was literally months off the bench, unknowing that I was even going to be a musician or singer. And then all of a sudden I was on this stage. That was around 1992. I was about 21 or so. Anyways, the band eventually broke up. I'm still in touch with one of the guys, great drummer, Gary Z, who plays in a Toby Keith tribute band now, um, traveling all over the country. Uh, we split up and it carried on for a little bit, half of us, until I finally had to quit because my school and work were conflicting with uh, the band practice. So I told them, guys, sorry, I gotta finish um, finish school. And but I started meeting a lot of people playing music too. That was just the tip of the iceberg for me. I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in human resource management in 1996 and was soon offered a job at Blue Cross Blue Shield in Detroit, Blue Cross of Michigan. I loved the people I worked with, but I didn't really care for HR. I had to fire people that I didn't think deserved it. I couldn't live with myself. Um, but we used to go sing karaoke at Greektown. That was like a block away, and those were great times. I'm still in touch with a lot of those people, um, and I love them. So I used to sing karaoke a lot, especially after softball games, mainly at the Long Branch in Taylor. Whenever I was at a bar that had a band, I would, while my friends were trying to hit on girls, I would sit right by the stage like a puppy dog and try to make eye contact in between songs, begging this band to let me play, let me sing a song. Usually it'd be like the second song before the end of the night, second to last song, and they turned my microphone down in case I was terrible, and everyone was drunk, so they didn't even know I was singing. But I was just happy to be on that stage. I loved it. Um, I did a lot of that, especially at Simon's in Allen Park. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I had a lot of friends and a lot of fun that in that time of my life. Played softball in the summer and bowled in the winter, but had a pretty nice corporate job at the office, wore a suit, but it wasn't fulfilling to me, and I thought I had to do something else. So this is where my very first big leap came about. I remember sitting in the Long Branch. I was sitting by myself. It's now J.P. McGuire's on Goddard Road. Um, I was drinking beer. I was 26, pondering my life, and then on the jukebox, somebody played a Smash Mouth song. I think it was the heck's that song? Walking on the Sun. And I was like, how did this guy and this goofy song get on the jukebox? No offense if you like Smash Mouth, and God rest his soul. The singer passed away, I think, recently or a couple years ago. But like, how does this song get on the radio? You know. So I was like, man, if I ever hear this song again, I gotta do something. And what do you know? Somebody played it again. So I was sitting there. My only experience in music was my short-lived tenure with Taz and singing karaoke for my softball friends and singing one song at the end of the night for a bunch of drunk people that didn't even know I was singing. And I had to figure out a plan. So I don't know how long I've been going, but I'm going to stop right here and let the next episode, I'm going to let you know what I did from there. Um, Thanks again. I don't mean to end so abruptly, but I'm going to drive to Lakeland right now and go see the Detroit Tigers spring training game and have a beer or margarita. I'll take some pictures. And once again, it's going to get better. Thanks for listening this long, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, guys.